Well, hi there. Welcome back to another tips and tricks video. My name is Brad, and today we're going to be talking all about Floetrol. This isn't going to be a super long video, but it's an important one, I think, because a lot of people use Floetrol in acrylic pouring, and it's my favorite pouring medium, and I'll talk a little bit about it and what I like about it, what I don't like about it. And the most important thing to know about Floetrol, hint, you got to strain it. But we'll get to that in a second and how I like to strain it. You might like to see how I do that, and it might work well for you. So first of all, Floetrol is not an art material. This is designed for wall painters. It's a, kind of industrial paint product. And they say conditioner, it's a paint conditioner. You'll hear that a lot when people talk about Floetrol. Basically, if you replace conditioner with medium, that's what it is. This is basically a pouring medium for wall paints. And what it does is it thins the paint down, and so you're able to roll it or brush it on the walls better, and it will eliminate brush strokes. It also slows the drying time down a little bit. Acrylic paints or latex-based paints that you put on your wall tend to dry pretty quick, and they're a little thick when they're right out of the can. So the Floetrol is great for thinning that down just a little bit, and the roller marks, brush marks kind of just blend together, which is fantastic. I've used it a lot for that, actually. Also, another great thing with the Floetrol and why painters use it a lot is to thin the paint down to spray it. Latex paints are right out of the can, are pretty thick to go through a paint sprayer. So Floetrol is a great way to thin them down and spray them on the wall. Now you have to know how much to add with those types of paints. You don't add as much as you would with our acrylic paints for pouring, because if you add too much of this and then spray it on the wall or roll it on the wall, it'll start to run because you can thin it too much. But that's kind of a different thing. I just want to give you a little bit of a backstory on Floetrol and how it's actually used in most of the world. It's pretty much being used a lot more now in the art industry with us paint pourers. Another thing that's a little fun tip is there's another version of Floetrol that's called Penetrol, made by Flood as well, and that's for oil paints. So if you ever need to use oil-based paints on your wall or your house, get some Penetrol and mix it in with the oil-based paints. It works awesome. I've used that a ton as well. So Floetrol is great for acrylic pouring. It's what I use most often, and usually in a ratio of about 1-to-1 with acrylic paints to Floetrol. What's so great about it is it helps create the cells in your paintings. I don't know exactly how it does that. I think it has to do with some of the latex materials in here, but they really help bring out the cells in your acrylic pours. The other great thing about Floetrol is it extends and expands your paint. Basically what that means is it will slow the drying time down just a little bit. Not very noticeable, but it also gives you more paint. So if you're using this in like a 1-to-1 ratio, so let's say 3 parts Floetrol, 3 parts paint, something like that, now you've basically doubled the amount of paint you have, which is fantastic because Floetrol is a whole lot cheaper than our acrylic paints, no matter what you're using. If it's just the cheap craft paint, or if it's more expensive tube paint like this, or it's like the really expensive golden paint, you're getting more paint, more bang for your buck basically by using a pouring medium. It doesn't have to be Floetrol. Any pouring medium gives you will give you a greater volume of paint. That's one of the great reasons why we use a pouring medium. The other reason is because we need to thin our paints down. They're a little too thick right out of the tube or the jar or the bottle. So we need to thin them down a little bit. So Floetrol is great for that. You might also use like a Liquitex pouring medium or a golden pouring medium. There's so many pouring mediums now on the market. Artist Loft has one. Everyone's got one, really. I've used a lot of them, and I do use them, but usually in conjunction with Floetrol. This is kind of my go-to base pouring medium. If I use like Liquitex or Golden or these other pouring mediums or additives, I usually add them along with my Floetrol. The only exception to this is with glue. If I'm using a glue-based medium like Elmer's glue all or school glue in certain circumstances, usually I will use that all by itself as the pouring medium instead of using it with Floetrol. But I know a lot of people use Floetrol and glue together. So that's just a little backstory reason why I use Floetrol, why I like it. And there's another type of Floetrol, which I'm sure you've heard about if you're into the blooms at all, and that's called Australian Floetrol. I really haven't experimented too much with that at all. I have a small bottle, but I haven't gotten into the blooms as much as I wanted to. That's a really popular product in the bloom world. Shelley made that like super popular, and I do have her course. I was one of her first students who bought the course way back when she pre-launched it. It's a pretty awesome course if you want to check it out and if you're into the blooms. But that's a different product. It's more expensive than this stuff. This is now known as the US Floetrol, and you buy this at Home Depot. I've really not seen it at Lowe's out here in California. You might be able to find it at Lowe's in other parts of the US. But for me, I only go to Home Depot to get this stuff, and I get a lot of it. And I like to buy it in the big gallons. You can also buy it in the quart size, like this. And I have quite a few of these too. I usually reuse these and fill them up again out of my gallons. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. But the gallons are more affordable. I think this is about $15 if you buy a gallon. And these suckers are about $9, I think. Or no, that's too much. I can't remember really. Between $6 and $7, I think. I haven't bought these in a while because I keep getting the gallons. But volume-wise, these are the way to go if you can find them. So that's where I find them, is at Home Depot. And they're fantastic. So a couple of the things to look out for with Floetrol, and this is kind of the problems with Floetrol. There's not too many of them, but I want to let you know about them. The first thing is you can get some bad bottles. Now, when I go buy my Floetrol, this is brand new. So I keep lifting it, it's heavy, but this is a brand new gallon. So I will always, in the store, open these up and take a look inside. There's no protective seal or anything like that, but take a look in there. And if there happens to be any gritty, like sandy looking debris or residue around the opening, then avoid that bottle. I've bought them before, and they've had that like kind of gritty, sandy looking residue. It's just gonna wreck your painting. There's no way to really strain that off of there. I've tried, but it just goes through the strainer and it kind of looks like there's sand all over your painting. So just move on to a different bottle. I haven't seen that in quite a while, but I always check my bottles whenever I go in there to buy them. So always open up, take a look in there, see if it looks nice and white. Another thing you might notice is it will look like there's a bunch of clear liquid on top, and then like it gets more opaque at the bottom. That means it's been sitting around for quite a while. So I always tend to go for the gallons or the quarts that look really milky and white. Those are like the freshest, newest ones. So if you see one that has like a lot of clear liquid at the top, it'll still work for you. You'll just have to shake it up more, but that's an older one. So I tend to, if I have a choice between an older one and a newer one, I'll always go with a newer one. So I always kind of test and look at my Floetrol before I buy it. The other thing that's notorious with a Floetrol is it can develop chunks and like stringy things in there. And I have a feeling it's because of the latex nature of this product. I think once it's sitting around, it can just kind of congeal and get some chunks and stringy stuff, and that will totally screw up our painting. So we need to get that out of there. And I'm going to show you how I strain my Floetrol and then how I use it. So I'm going to put some gloves on and I'll be right back. Okay, gloves are on. I'm back and ready to show you how to strain some Floetrol. So the first thing I always do is I shake up my Floetrol, and I don't give it a really heavy duty shake. I usually just tilt it like this back and forth several times, and I want to mix it all up, but I don't want to generate tons of air bubbles. So I found this is the better way to do it. I've kind of pre-mixed this one, so I'm not going to do a whole lot of that. Then the next thing we're going to do, we're going to open it up. And we're going to open up our quarts. I always like to pour my gallon into my quart cans here. These are both empty, and I've been using these for a long time. So with that, I'm going to just fill these up. And one thing to watch for is, watch that Floetrol, because it comes up that neck really quick, and it'll like overflow on you really fast. So keep an eye on that. So I got that one. Now I'm gonna do this one. And obviously 1 gallon is, whoa, see what I mean? It overflowed on me, oh my gosh. Okay, I got a couple of my handy dandy tissues here. I'm not cutting this one out. So I'm gonna just pour this back in here. Just a little bit. I'm gonna wipe up my excess. Okay, we got that all cleaned up. That was exciting, wasn't it? All right, so now I have my 2 quarts filled up. I'm gonna just put the cap back on my big gallon here. I'll set that aside. Now, what I have here is 2 quarts, and I need to strain this. And there's a lot of ways to strain it, and people do it a lot of different ways. Some people use a little strainer. Some people pour it in a big vat or big giant container, and they have a strainer in there. This is a really simple way that I've developed, and I like to use. It's very, very simple. So you're going to need a couple simple things to do this. First of all, rubber bands. I have a big pack of rubber bands. I've had this for probably 10 years. I've never used them until I started, acrylic pouring. These are number 33 rubber bands. I didn't know they had numbers until I just looked at the bag. They happen to be like 3.5 inches, roughly. These work fine for me. You might want to experiment with other sizes, I don't know. But number 33, that works pretty good for me. Another thing you're gonna need, and this happens to be right next to the Floetrol at Home Depot, are these strainers. These are for paint strainers. So they make a 1 gallon paint strainer, and they make a 5 gallon paint strainer. I usually get the 5 gallon because they're bigger. And I'll show you what these look like. I find it curious that they're right next to the Floetrol. Anyway, this is a big 5 gallon paint strainer. This is used to, strain out 5 gallons of paint to get a bunch of the chunks and stuff out of the paint. But it's a fine mesh, and it's perfect for straining our Floetrol. So what I do with this is just cut it all up. It's, there's 2 sides to it. It's like a big net. And I cut it into small squares, about roughly 3 inches by 3 inches or so. I don't measure, I just kind of eyeball it. Here's another one. And this is the straining material that goes on our quart cans. So what I do, I'm gonna just drop this. I'll show you here. Let me move this one. I drop that right on top of our Floetrol, and then I've got my rubber band. And what I do is I double up my rubber band, kind of like that, and then I take one side of the rubber band again, and then double that up. So it's a pretty tight rubber band. And then I just put it right over the strainer, and that's it. I've got a strainer right on the cap of my Floetrol. And then I'll take a scissors and I'll just trim off the excess. I do this because I don't like the drips, dripping all over that, and then it kind of makes a big mess. So just like that, and now I have a strainer on my quart of Floetrol, and this is perfect. And the other great thing about it is a cap will go right back on top, and you're good to go. So I'll do the other one here. So here's my other quart, and here's my rubber band. So I'm going to double this up again, like that. So there's the doubled rubber band. Then I take one side of the rubber band like this and double that up. There we go. and then I just drop it right on right over the lid of the Floetrol, and you can kind of adjust the strainer material if you need to, and we're good to go. That's it. And then just trim it off. This is perfect. Now people, this is very similar to using the nylon stockings. Like Gina DeLuca, I know, uses that, and that works great too. But for me, these paint strainers are fantastic. So, and then I just put my cap right back on there, and I'm good to go. This is it. I am ready to go with my Floetrol. And then also give these a good shake up before I use them. And now one final thing, you could use the Floetrol right out of the quart cans, or sometimes I will put them in bottles like this. This is a 8-ounce bottle. This is my favorite squirt bottle. And in class, I have these for Floetrol and I have these for water for my students. But these are the best bottles I've ever found. I'll put a link below if you want to check these out. I love these bottles. So, but I will put Floetrol in here. I'll show you how I do that. So here is my bottle, and you'll notice the strainer, the Floetrol just kind of comes out of there fairly slowly. So it's kind of nice. It doesn't pour out of there like a normal, like you're just pouring liquid right out of a open lid. So that's the strainer and how it works. It works great, and these bottles are fantastic. So now you can have a smaller bottle like this and to fill up your cups, or if you need just a little Floetrol, it's a little easier to handle these small bottles, and I love them. And you'll notice I have a little eraser cap on the top. See my little eraser cap? I find these work so much better than the little red caps that come with them. And some bottles have the little attached cap. I hate those. Those always get in my way, and they are, you know, flapping around. I don't like them. So this bottle is by far the best. So you can check it out if you want to. So that is our Floetrol strainer method. Ta-da! It's not that fancy. But whatever, if it works good for you, then that's fantastic. It works great for me. It's pretty simple. And after these bottles are empty, what I do is I just pull the rubber band and the strainer off and put a new one on. I don't try to reuse them. They get kind of gunked up. So I just put a new one on. This stuff, you can get a lot of strainer squares out of this. So I just buy this. This is only a couple dollars. I think $3 or something like that for the big, not the 1 gallon, but the big 5 gallon. And you get 2 of these in one pack. So that's a lot of strainers. But that's my method for straining the Floetrol. And just to let you know how I do it, it works great for me, and it works pretty good for the students I've taught it to. And I hope you can go find some Floetrol if you're brand new to acrylic pouring. And it's a wonderful product to use. I love it. Lots of other people love it. And I wish you success with it. Till the next time, I will see you later.